decide to move to Canada, I guess? Like, what were you doing in Wales that you were like...
It was a combination of things, I think, that was like really what made me move here.
Yeah.
Like the actual, like, kind of, I guess the interesting side of it is that I went out to Chamonix to ski for the first. Well, actually, I went out to visit in May, so it was like the end of their winter season in 2017. I think was the first time. Yeah, 2017, and I went out there and like I'd like gone on holiday and stuff with my family and stuff before, but this was like first time hopping on a plane by myself and like going to I don't know, yeah, just like going solo. Not that I was solo traveling, I was meeting a family member out there, but. Yeah, kind of hopping on the plane by myself at least. And I was just like blown away by mountains. Like I was into like climbing, biking, hiking, you know, like all the things we are. But yeah, man, like just seeing like the scale of the mountains and like going to the ski hills. I was like looking at the lifties and I was like, I'd do anything to do that job.
Yeah.
Like literally that was my frame of mind. And so after that first trip, my kind of like gears are in motion. And I was like, okay, like there's more to the world than Landod, the town I'm from in Wales. So then I like instantly planned another ski trip out there the next year, and then the next year and the next year. And like every time I was just like idolizing people that worked at ski hills and stuff. Like it was just like dreaming of doing that. And so I couldn't speak French and I didn't want to like spend 5 years learning French and like waiting to like try and make the whole like French season work. I probably could have just gone in as an English speaker, like lots of Brits do. But yeah, so I was kind of Googling, like literally it happened so quick. I was Googling, I was like figuring out where I could go, like on visas and stuff, like what's easy for a UK resident to do on a visa. And it was Australia or Canada. And I was literally like, it was a 50-50 coin flip kind of thing. I can't really remember. At the time, I was kind of getting into like photography and stuff. So I was like, Canada's kind of more scenic in that aspect. So Canada it was, and literally I thought about it, hopped on a phone call with a immigration officer and paid a deposit on that same phone call, and then I hung up, and I think I told my sister, it was like the first person I told, and she was like, did you just get scammed? And I was like, fuck, did I just get scammed? Because it was like too easy, you know. I was just like, I want to go to Canada, send us 500 quid, done. And I was like, all right, sweet. And then I was like, uh-oh. But it was legit because I'm here.
Because I was going to say, I'm like, coming to Canada typically isn't that easy. Like I remember like getting a visa from the UK was well hard. Like I was in the pool for like a couple of years, but I was like, I'd been in Australia, started it. So like I wasn't that bothered about going instantly, but it took me like 2 to 3 years to get it.
I don't think it took me 3, but I think I
didn't do what you did.
It did take a year and a half or 2, I think.
Yeah.
I was waiting for a while, and I remember like getting a new job, and I was like, oh, like it's kind of a job that I don't want to like, you know, throw away kind of thing. So I was nervous about that, but it ended up taking like a year and a half to come through. So
that's pretty sweet. So so you go on this all day Chamonix, and you're just like, this place is sick, and then that's mad.
Yeah, it's just like literally, just like learned to ski that winter. I was like obviously terrible at it, but I was just like, this is just the best thing in the world. Or like, and then from then, all I wanted to do was work at a ski hill, or like do some kind of job that would put me close to a ski hill.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, that's sweet. I'm so envious of people who like have that like experience. Like my sister's maybe she's kind of the same, but like totally different things. She did theatre, but maybe it's like she did it once and she was like, I love this.
Where did you say?
Like just theatre. She went like a drama school. She went to a drama school when we were kids, and ever since then she was the same as you. Like she just wanted to be involved in it somehow. Yeah. She is. Like now she's 33. The last, since she's been like 19, she's worked in like theatre and film and all that stuff. Like I'm so envious of people who have had that experience where they're just like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I want to do.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm 31 and I'm still just like, oh, I've tried this, I've tried that.
Yeah. Well, kind of like we were talking about before, it's like, it's not the thing, but it's the next thing, right? Like, it's kind of like the goalpost moves and whatnot. But.
Yeah, so I was going to say, has it been kind of a natural progression to like where you are now, or have you had like various, well, I guess maybe like jump back a bit. So when you come to Canada, what did you do when you first came here?
Lifty.
Oh, were you? Yeah, so you
finally
actually got the dream.
Yeah, it was so funny because like, I had this conversation yesterday with a friend because it was like the the dream was moving to Canada. The dream was like being a lifty, and then I was like in the reality of it. And but obviously, I'm like still like absolutely like blown away by where I was. But the resort I was at had such a bad season that first year. Well, did it? It kind of did.
Where was it? Whistler?
No, it was like 2 hours east of Vancouver.
Oh, right.
In like the Hemlock Valley region, which is it's like Sunshine Access Road on steroids. I can't remember how long it is, but it's like 3 times the length of the Sunshine Access Road.
Right,
and,
okay.
Like, rough as hell to get up there.
Oh, right.
And it rained a lot. Yeah, I lived up on hill.
Okay,
it rained a lot. And then when it didn't rain, it was like just like the best powder ever, which is insane. But here I am. I moved super lightweight here. So like I said, just like a backpack. And I think I did bring a suitcase, but it just had like snow pants and a jacket in it, you know, and like just crap.
Yeah.
Like I didn't bring skis or anything. So I was like, not that I would have used them all that well. I was like, I'd learned to ski in Chamonix, but was no way.
And that first time in Chamonix was the first time skiing? The
first time I went, I was too late to ski. So, but then the second, third time was, I ski for, I went for like 2 weeks every time and would do 1 week of lessons each time. And then 1 week of just like, kind of like implementing what I learned into the rest of the week.
That's sweet, mate. So I feel like when you get older, I know you're probably younger at that point. But even at the age you probably were at that point, I'm assuming you kind of, would that be like late teenage years almost?
Yeah, I would have been, 17, 18.
Yeah, because I feel like at that age, I was like, I know how to snowboard after having like 2 lessons in my life.
You know, well, mate, I had a GoPro at the time and I remember filming myself on the last trip going down and I was like, ripping down the slope and then you watch it back and like I'm pizza and down.
I know. Well, before I came, I was that guy, and then before I came, after I came here, it totally changed my opinion. Obviously, we live in Banff now. You even in that place you were at, like no doubt you met people who are Canadian or just like they were living in a place where they could ski every year. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, like I'm terrible.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and they've done it from when they're like 6 or even younger, like half the time, right?
Yeah. And then you've gone, and then how did you go from there to Banff? Is that kind of like just heard of Banff? Yeah.
So like in that lead up to me getting my visa was like I was getting into photography and I was like watching some Canadians on YouTube. Like that's like as a teenager in my bedroom at home, like all I was doing was like consuming YouTube, and like luckily it wasn't crap. I was like watching some decent stuff, but a couple of guys from Canada, and they were just like always in the Banff area, and it was just always just like postcard, like as it is. And so I like I literally did no research about Canada before I moved here, which is fine. I knew that Banff existed, and I knew Moraine Lake was here, Lake Louise was here. That was it, basically. So I moved because like the job that I got gave me income and a place to live. So I was like, sweet. And then like save up some money and then figure it out, try and end up in Banff. And so that was always the focus. But I went to Ontario for summer after that, like I guess during COVID, which is towards sort of like the end of the first like lockdown. And then after I moved back, we met someone there who worked at Norquay. And so we were like, get me another lifty job, baby.
You loved it so much. I would do that. So what did you do in Ontario? Was it more just like a summer kicking around? Yeah, like
it's a mass. Have you been there?
To parts of it, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the part we're in, it's big on canoeing, kind of lake country, you know?
Yeah.
So lots of portaging boats and like that's, we'd go hiking and camping here. They go canoeing and camping over there.
Yeah.
So it's like an outfitting store. People come for weekends and stuff and like they'll hire a canoe and a bunch of camping gear and then just head out into the wilderness.
Yeah.
And so we were like, my job was just like, take their booking, like grab them a canoe, grab all the camping gear they need and like help them out getting into the lake, send them off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was decent. It was great. Yeah. And then like on our days off, you just rent a canoe and do what you want. So you head out there yourself. That's good.
See, I don't know about, and I don't know if I just don't know about it because I wasn't into it when I was in the UK, but mate, I feel like in the UK that was never heard anyone with that job ever.
No. I don't think so. Like portaging was a new word for me. I was like, what is that?
I'll be honest, that's a new word for me right now.
It's basically just carrying a canoe on your back.
Right, okay.
So because the lakes are like disconnected, right? You can do a loop or do like a point-to-point trip in your canoe, but obviously because it's lakes, you have to go between one lake to another. So then you flip the canoe up, put it on your shoulder,
I got you.
Walk it along a trail, put it in the next lake, carry on. So it's like, just a thing to do.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet though.
Yeah, it would be
super unique.
Yeah, especially in that area where the lakes are so nice.
Yeah.
It's not like lakes in the UK where you're like, you dip a toe and you're like, this is freezing.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like black, like dark water.
Yeah.
So like, and Ontario gets pretty hot. So it's like I remember, the water was not really that cold, especially in like August time. It's pretty warm. Yeah,
I remember when I lived in Australia, I know this is kind of off topic, but when I lived in Australia, like they obviously had tons of lakes and stuff all over the place. I mean, who's Australian that I lived with, like we would, dip off for the weekend and go to these lakes. And I remember they're kind of similar. They're like really brown.
Yeah.
It was like the leaves of the trees that like get in the water and they decay or whatever. But and anytime we got to one, I'd be like, what's in it? Like, what are there like, I'd literally be like, are there like crocodiles or alligators in this? And he would always find it hilarious that I was so afraid of that.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, but it wasn't like he was like, nah, don't be stupid, they won't be. He was like, yeah. But
still. Yeah, I know.
Like, all right, cool, so we're just going to jump in it then. And he's like, yeah, but it'll be and I guess once you live there, as you're going to soon do, like you do kind of get into the, it's kind of like seeing what avalanches here, not that you take them for granted, but you're like, yeah, they are a thing that actually happen and exist. And you just kind of live amongst it.
Yeah.
It was kind of the same there. I was like, oh, cool, I guess that does, because the chances of an accident happening like an avalanche is really rare for you if you're like doing the right thing. But yeah, I remember just being like, this is such a Australian mentality. It's like, yeah, man,
you're right. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we just don't have anything to worry about.
No, I know, not at all. So then you did that, and then you jumped back to Banff to work at Norquay.
Yeah,
and you were back to Lifty.
Yeah.
So were you at Lifty when I met you? No, you must have been.
How many years did you do there?
I did once winter there in 2020. The 2020 winter.
No.
20 to 21 is when I did it, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, oh, jeez. Yeah, it must have been 20 to 21. I would have been
I only did one season.
And then 21, 22, I would have been, that was my patrol season.
Yeah. So it's funny because like I look at Lefties and I'm like, they're like a different breed of people just because it is like, I mean, you're standing out in the cold all day, like doing like a fairly monotonous thing. Being like, and obviously everyone passing, you're like every 2 seconds, you're literally like, hi.
Yeah.
Like, is it actually kind of monotonous or are you just getting a groove with a...
Yeah, no, it's no good. I mean, like, I'm sure.
So the bubbles somewhat burst after you.
Yeah, like one Lifty season's great. Yeah. 2, like, did I? Yeah, I did do 2. Yeah, I thought I did 3 then. But no, by the second, I was like really like just itching. Like I'm not good at sitting around and doing not a lot. And I'd like had kind of listened to the podcasts and the music, and at that point, it was just
you can do
kind of
So how did you go from Lifty to ski patrolling?
Oh, I went Lifty to doing the Via Ferrata.
Oh, was it?
So actually, I met a guy in that last Lifty season.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and I was like, what are your plans for the summer? And he was like, I'm taking the summer off to climb in the Bugaboos, like all summer long. And at that point, I was like, oh, can we do that together? Basically, like, can we just spend the summer climbing in the bugs together?
Yeah.
And that was like kind of the plan for a little while. Like, I don't know how serious it was, like whether we were just talking about it or not, but I feel like we were both pretty keen on it.
Yeah.
And then he came back to me and was like, actually, I'm going to go to school. And like, so I need to save some money. Like, it doesn't make sense for me to take a summer off and just bum around.
Yeah.
So then he found the Via Ferrata and was like, well, I can climb all summer long, but still get paid. And so I was like, sweet, I'm going to look into that as well. So I applied for the same thing, and yeah.
So who was that? Who was the guy?
Addy Prentice.
Addy, yeah.
Do you remember him?
Yeah, I do remember Addy, yeah. Like long hair.
Yeah, long hair at the time. He doesn't have long hair anymore.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, definitely. I totally forgot. Sorry, you just totally reminded me of someone I totally forgot about. Yeah, Addy was cool.
Yeah, he's great. He was the witness at our wedding.
Was he? Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So then, is that like a kind of natural path, or not a natural, but that seemed to be quite a common thing for Norquay to do, to take people who were like already working there and then put them through the Via Ferrata. I think they trained you as a Via Ferrata guide. Yeah.
I had I went into it like I'd climbed. Like you have like a thing, anything to do with the ACMG, you have to kind of like have prerequisites, but Via Ferrata's kind of at the bottom of that whole ladder system. So it was just like you need to have like 10 climbs at like 5.8 or whatever it was. And so I just logged all my climbs from back home in the UK, because at that point I hadn't climbed here yet. And that was it. Like they just kind of need to know that you're decent, you know, comfortable being on rock up high, I guess. I think is the whole thing. And then, yeah, I did an interview and I guess they liked me enough that they said, if you pass like the course and the first aid thing, like if you get the first aid qualification, you're good, we'll hire you. So then I was like hired on the premise that I would get those two.
Yeah. And did they pay for them, or you had to pay for them and then?
Oh geez, I can't remember. I can't remember. The guide course is definitely covered.
Yeah.
I cannot remember if I paid for the first aid or not.
I mean, even the guide course, for them to pay that, because like once you didn't pass it, then like for them it's almost
I guess it's one of those things that like
maybe it's rare.
You know, it's like it's kind of not like a driving test, but I'm trying to think what it's like. You know, it's like if you don't pass it, you know, like they're there to kind of train you to pass.
Yeah,
know? It's not like a test; it's like a training. They get you to the level and then pass you.
Yeah, I think it was maybe similar when I did my level 2 snowboarding thing. Like, it was you did have to pass it.
Yeah,
but I remember like at the end of it, so I failed it the first time, and then the second time I did it, the guy, he did it in a really funny way where like he started the conversation with me thinking that I had again failed it.
Oh yeah,
because he was like, "Look, you need to get better at this and get better at that." But then he was like, "But I'm passing you." But I guess what I'm getting at there was that it was kind of similar where he was like, "You've passed, but you need to like, continue working these things."
I think that's a good system, honestly. Like you kind of receive that in like a good way, I imagine, because then you're kind of grateful that you passed, but you know that you can.
Yeah, there was just a couple of boys who didn't pass and they were a rage.
Level 3, you said?
Nah, level 2. So level 2 is still that kind of level where like if you put in like, in my opinion, I'm like, level 1, anyone can get it. Level 2 is like if you put in enough time, you can easily get it. Level 3 is where like, in my opinion, you are like a shit hot skier.
Level 3 is, and then level 4 is like almost impossible from what I hear.
Yeah.
Isn't that like, you're like just super like technical?
Like a legend. Yeah. Like you're training the trainers almost.
Right.
I think level 3, now someone could correct me in this, but I think a level 3 might also be like a position where you can train like level 1s and 2s.
Okay.
You definitely can actually, because my friend Scoots did that.
Yeah.
And she was a level 3. But yeah, again, like level 2 was, I really felt like if you honestly put in, like, because that's how I failed it. I didn't bother trying, really failed it. And then I can't remember how long, but even if it was like 2 or 3 weeks, like I remember just being like every day I was working on the things you told me to, and like I passed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it was kind of like, it wasn't like I guess as a pass or fail, but very much throughout the course, I didn't say this, but throughout the course, they're like, hey, you need to like do this better.
Yeah.
It wasn't like on the last day, they just like gave you all this stuff where they're like, hey, you didn't do any of this.
Yeah.
Like throughout the course, they're like, you need to be better, and tomorrow on your toe side turn or name a thing.
Yeah.
But so you had done rock climbing prior to being a Via Ferrata?
Yeah, like a little bit.
Yeah.
As much as I could kind of in the UK. Now that I'm away from the UK, like I see it, like it's absolutely, like it really is a mecca for rock climbing.
Here?
No, the UK.
Oh, the UK.
Wales especially.
Really?
It's just Wales and Scotland. Definitely.
Yeah. No, well, I honestly didn't know that. Like people say that to me, and someone here, obviously because my work was like, oh, like what's the rock climbing like in Scotland? And I'll be honest, I don't actually rock climb a ton. And I was like, oh, I don't really think there's much I've seen. And they were like they were like, what? Like I thought it was like really big. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe. But, you're just like, I should have just been like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But instead I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I kind of like bullshitting my way through it when I should have just.
I met 2 guys actually from, I can't remember where they're from now, like South Wales somewhere. Maybe Newport or something. And they're both guides at Yamnuska. And they were talking to me about, I'd been up at the top of something like, about to wrap in, and then they came down and my mate was down there talking to him, and they were like, I heard someone here's from Wales, and then I like heard the accent. I was like, no way. But yeah, it's Yamnuska guys from Wales, and they were like talking about how great rock climbing is in the UK, and I was like, yeah, like I heard that, but even though I'm from there, I don't really know too much. Like, I only know some real basic stuff, but
yeah, it's funny how you hear anyone with like a familiar accent, and you're just like, even like Wales, I'm like, I'm from fucking, like I'm from the same place-ish. Like, whereas back home in Scotland, if you hear someone from Wales, you're like, oh, fuck him.
Yeah, right.
Or you hear someone Scottish, you're like, oh, there's someone from the north again. But yeah, I think, ashamedly, like we were kind of chatting about like not getting into things here. Like, I still haven't really got into rock climbing.
No.
Like, I don't know why. I don't know if I think I have this, I've got better at it as I've got older, but like I think when I was younger, I used to associate like exercise purely with the purposes of like losing weight or like doing something like that. I never like, this is really stupid to say now, but it's like I never equated like the pure fun and enjoyment of something as sport.
Right.
Like I ran to lose weight. I went to the gym to put muscle. I did these things. I never thought like, oh, just like, there was always like a goal behind it.
Yeah.
There wasn't like just like, you can have a goal of being like, I want to be a much better rock climber, a much better like mountain biker. But my brain was always like in such a like, oh no, like I've got to do that to get this like physical like thing from it, like losing the weight or putting on the muscle. And it's only really now that I've been like, oh, I could just like do these things because they're fun.
Just for fun, yeah.
Yeah, and I've been trying to do it more since I've been here because it's like
if I was here for longer, we'd go.
I know. And mate, obviously I've got all this stuff as well. Like I literally any day could just like grab it and go.
Yeah. It's funny you say that about the exercise because I'm the complete flip side of that.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I was like, if you're in the gym building muscle, that's fake muscle.
Yeah, it's fake muscle.
No, that's a stupid way to look at it. But in my opinion, but that's just like, yeah. Like I was like, if you're out there, running, climbing, whatever, like getting strong that way, and that's like, just a naive way to look at it. But
so I now think the same as you, but it's not fake muscle in the sense of like it's not real, but it's like fake in the sense of like if you want to be someone who is, because as much as I was going to the gym, I was still like really like into the outdoors. So I was still running. I did like I ran, I swam, I cycled, I hiked, even in the UK.
Yeah.
So therefore, all the muscle I'm putting on in the gym, because it was purely like hypertrophy stuff, which is like only to like grow muscle, not to like.
What was that word?
Hypertrophy.
What's that mean?
I think, maybe.
Was that you about to explain it there and I cut you off?
No. So I'm going to explain it, but I'm probably going to totally butcher it and oversimplify it. But hypertrophy, my understanding is that it's just when you're like growing muscle for size.
Okay.
I'm definitely like, someone's going to listen to this and be like, that guy's totally getting that wrong. But like, that was kind of my understanding of it. Whereas and the opposite, that would be like doing stuff in the gym for like athletic performance.
Okay, yeah.
Like, so like now, like I'm doing a lot of swimming and like I do one day in the gym and it's all like swim related movements.
Right.
Like pull downs for your lats, just all that kind of stuff. So anyway, kind of like what I was doing before was fake muscle because like none of the muscle I was putting on was to benefit running or cycling or swimming.
Okay.
It was just purely for the vanity of it. Which obviously when you're young, guys, serves a purpose, I guess. But I wish I had your mentality where like you were doing the sports and stuff like that because you enjoy them. And then you can add in, once you get older and you probably, because there obviously is a benefit going to the gym, to like strengthen ligaments and balance and all that core stuff. Then adding that in. Because as we've talked about, and I've talked to numerous people, is about like every time I've injured myself has been from the gym.
Yeah. Right.
And I wish I'd like had the opposite mentality of like pursuing sports that I enjoyed and I loved. And then when I got older and wiser, I didn't end the gym to complement them.
Right.
Which is what I'm kind of doing now. And I think I've not yet completely destroyed my body.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm slowly reversing some of that damage to the point where like I honestly hope that I will be like A-okay again. But anyway. But you so you're back into the ski patrolling. Oh, yeah. So you're doing the Via Ferrata guide. How was that? Because I obviously worked the same summer as you, but I was like working guest services. So I'd see you in the morning and I'd chat to you, and then you would just like disappear up a mountain. And me and Amelia, your wife, would just sit there and read books, and then you would just appear. And I never really like.
Oh, I don't know. You get some bad guests. I might be wishing I was reading. No, I'm joking. But no, it was super good, man. It's it's just so much fun. Like, obviously got responsibility and stuff, but you're kind of just climbing with a bunch of people who want to be there. So it's so much fun.
And did you have like, was that your first job where you're like the man in control of the like, hey, people, like, the leader here?
Yeah, that ain't me. That guy's not me. Yeah. So,
how did you find that?
I found it fine, to be honest. Yeah.
Like you could do it, but you might not have enjoyed that.
Yeah, I could do it. I don't know. Like if I watched a recording of myself being like, hey guys, I'm the guy, I would have probably like, not loved it. But I think it was all right. Yeah. I think people enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I kind of had a bit of fun. Like, yeah, because that isn't like, I'm not comfortable doing that. So like I kind of found joy in being, testing myself a bit. But yeah, no, it was good. Super weird though, because you're like, like a 20-year-old, 21-year-old guide in control of what, like you are responsible for 8 adults, that have got way more, maybe not, they may not have more experience than me in that environment, but like in terms of like life and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's that age where you're like, you're effectively telling someone who's older than you what to do, when it's kind of always been the reverse. You've always been like, listen to your elders, or you've just been young enough that you've always been someone older, and then it's reversed and you're telling, like I was interviewing a guy for a job the other day, it must have been like stab in the dark, it must be like mid-50s.
Right.
I'm 31, so, and I've done enough that I'm used to it, but like still like a kind of weird thing where like I'm interviewing him, I'm a younger person, and it's just like, it's definitely a weird you just get used to it, I guess, but it's kind of weird.
It can be weird for sure.
Syndrome.
Yeah, that's the thing for sure.
And how did you, so like Via Ferrata, so again, my understanding of Via Ferrata is like really, is to make rock climbing routes for people like me who don't rock climb typically a lot easier and accessible.
Yeah, kind of.
And do you find like, for someone who did rock climbing, is the Via Ferrata for you like a total scoosh? Like, are you like, this is a walk in the park?
Yeah, yes and no.
Yeah.
And like the first time we went up it was like, we do a couple laps around just to kind of get familiar with it and see what it's all about.
Did you do all the routes?
Or
did they, like,
no, I think we did.
Am I right in saying like the longest one kind of does like just effectively do everything minus like a few things?
Yeah, basically.
Like the Summitier or the Mountaineer or something like that.
Yeah, the Summitier. So I missed the kind of like Alpinist Ridgewalker section of it, which is like the left side of the mountain if you're looking at it.
Mm-hmm. Kind
of goes up, but then what it misses there, like it has 3x the exposure and fun up on the other side. So like you're not like crimping onto a tiny hold with nothing but fresh air beneath your feet. Like you've got a ladder rung to hold on to and they're like, a foot into the rock. Like it's solid and you're hooked in, but like the exposure's still there. Like you are on the side of a rock face and you look behind you and it's like, a decent drop. So like it's physically wasn't crazy, but like you still get the enjoyment of like being on the side of a mountain, like, and how did you onto nothing.
But people like, imagine you got all kinds of people in the sense of like people who were like, this is easy, to people who were like, you had to like, I would assume that there were people you had to be like coaching them through a moment.
Yeah.
Where you're like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Was there moments like that? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's kind of the fun of it, right? You never know what you're going to get. Sometimes you like,
as a positive attitude to have.
Yeah. Well, there was a couple, it's funny I should say this, but there was a guy and a girl, a couple that came, and the girl at the end of it, she aced it, like needed a bit of coaching through some stuff, but by the end of it, she was like, well, I can't remember his name now. My boyfriend dragged me here and I had no idea what was happening. So then when I'm at the bottom, like, so here's your harness and your lanyard and your helmet, she's like, what?
Oh, she had no idea?
No idea. Like literally no idea. Right. Which like, I mean, I guess you got to know your partner, whether that's going to be a good move or not, because there's a couple times where it doesn't go so well. But yeah, it's good. You get everyone, people who are like from Canmore and do this every summer, to people who have like never even seen mountains before and are like gasping at the air because they're at 2,000 meters. You know?
Do you remember that guy that we worked with at guest services as well? Oh, his name escapes me. The Spanish guy, Xavi.
Yeah.
Do you remember him?
Yeah.
So I remember him and I used to do the Via Ferratas like every weekend. And I remember we did like a bigger one. And the next weekend we were doing one of the smaller ones just to like get out. And I remember we were doing it and we were on it, and we were the back of the group, and the girls in front of us could hear us chatting about like, oh, like what's this one like compared to the last one?
Yeah.
And anyway, one of the girls turned around to us and we were chatting away, and she's like, so like, oh, you've done this other one, we were going to do that. She was like, what's this one? Do you, like, what one seems better? Do you think this is better, that's better? And Xavi, because he had no filter,
right,
it was just like, in my opinion, no. Like, as in the one that we were doing was,
it was like shit.
Yeah. And I was like, mate, just lie. He was like, and it's obviously funnier in his Spanish accent. He was like, no, in my opinion, no. And I was like, nah, it's
like, bring that back up.
Yeah, I was trying to hype it, but I loved doing them. Like, it was, yeah, again, for someone who doesn't do I haven't done a ton since I actually have, but at that point I hadn't done a ton of rock climbing. I've done it like indoors in the UK, like a wall or something. And remember, you get to the top and there was I'm like one of these people where I'll be screaming inside, but I have too much of an ego to admit it. So when we were at the top of Norquay, I guess the summit here, and you go up to the top and you come round, and there's that very brief exposure where there's no holds, but you're like on the rungs.
Just got the kick. Oh yeah.
And I remember just being like, I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah.
And have you had that big Logan guy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's just like tall, just like breezing it off.
Yeah.
But
He probably base jumped off that thing.
Yeah. I remember him telling me about that, how he used to base jump all over the place. And then I've talked to people and they've never seen him again. I'm like,
no, I think he's kind of around still, but I haven't seen him. I remember being on the skyline and I was like, there was this one girl. The skyline is you've done it right. It's that's the steepest, most exposed section. It's just I don't know, probably 200 meters sustained of just traversing across nothing. You're looking up the next foothold and it's just the ground's 200 feet below you or however far it is, I forget. But yeah, there's this one lady having a bit of a hard time with the height because it is the most exposed section. If anyone's going to panic, hopefully you figure that out beforehand, which usually we do, but sometimes it comes up there. And I was like, all right, pull my phone out, the work phone. I was like, I smile. And as I pulled the camera out, dropped it. And you just you watch it go like a red phone case. You watch it fall for 4 seconds and then it just goes bang and just bounces down the mountain. And she watched the whole thing happen and then was just gripped.
No.
Did not want to move.
Did you get the phone back?
No.
How was it?
No. I tracked it with my eyes and was like, okay, there it is. And I went back after and gone.
It was actually gone or it just destroyed?
Yeah, I couldn't find it.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
It would have been both.
So you loved the Via Ferrata then, by the sounds of it?
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good.
And then again, so you so you're still at Norquay. So you've gone from Lifty to Via Ferrata Guide. So that's a summer thing. Then winter season's coming. Then you jump into being a ski patroller. How do you go? Do you approach Norquay again and you're just like, hey, can I do this? Or?
Yeah, well, I was, how'd it go? So winter was coming. I was like, okay, I definitely don't want to go back to being a lifty again.
Yeah.
But I like skiing. I like being at the resort. So I was kind of weighing up my options. And I was like, well, I've got this first aid ticket. And the first aid ticket that you needed for the Via Ferrata was the same as a ski patroller. So I was like, well, I may as well use this. I've paid for it. I've learned all this stuff. I may as well kind of utilize it. So, I knew the people at Norquay, JT and Katsu and stuff who are the hirers for the summer and the winter. So yeah, talked to them. It's I'm interested. And at that point, obviously they'd worked with me for a bit. So I guess decided, I'm all right. And then, hired me.
And did you need to do so you didn't need to do anything to become a ski patroller in the sense of you already had your first aid, you could ski and they're just
yeah, it's the same thing. You can climb, you get a first aid certificate, you can learn to be a Via Ferrata.
Do they watch you ski first? Or?
Yeah, they actually didn't for this, but usually when I went and I did a hiring clinic for Sunshine and Lake, I did it for both, where you basically go and ski with the patrollers towards the end of the season and they watch you ski. And if you can't ski, then you can't be a patroller. But
really?
I didn't actually do the ski test for Norquay because I think I went back to the UK.
So you just kind of
So I was just yes, I can ski, and they just took my word for it.
I guess you probably obviously got a reputation of working there as well. No, that makes you I just mean in the sense of they know people who know you and they know you themselves, where they're okay, Aaron's not going to bullshit us, maybe.
I guess so, yeah. I definitely wouldn't have been the best skier at that point though, because that would have been first lifty season didn't have my own skis, so I rented, which that meant I didn't ski that much. Second season I did second season I did buy skis, but gotta admit I didn't ride them all that much. They were race skis, thin little Rossi skis, which I picked up for $100 on Marketplace. And then I finally was okay, I'm going to get a decent pair of skis here. And yeah.
And then, so it sounds like that was kind of so from the Lifty to Via Ferrata to ski patroller, that sounds like fairly natural progression. To just kind of go from one to the next.
Yeah, it just kind of seemed like the next thing,
yeah.
I guess. Yeah, because I had that first aid and just wanted I'd never ever done anything first aid before that, and I when I went into the course, I was like apprehensive. I was like, I don't really know if I'm going to enjoy this. Like my sister's a paramedic and stuff, and like I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think if she kind of knew that early on. I don't think she did either. But like, yeah, I never ever thought that I would want to be anything in like the medical world or anything like that. So I went into that first aid course kind of apprehensive. But then I did it, and that like it was 8 days that I was down in.
Oh, it's right, okay, yeah. Is it 80
hours? Yeah,
8 hours, yeah.
And I was down near Waterton for it, and it was just like it was wicked. It was like, I guess maybe if I was like, I probably wouldn't enjoy being in like a clinical, like doctor's office or something like that. Like that kind of medical stuff to me isn't that interesting. But like this course was just like, your friend's broken his leg in the backcountry, you need to get him out, and you've got a stick and a tent peg. That's all you've got. So like the whole idea is to like be able to figure out how to do stuff in the wilderness. Like it's a wilderness first responder course. So it's obviously ski patrol isn't like that. We're not splitting people up with sticks. Like it is for clinical and that, but it isn't like hospital worthy.
Did you have any, I mean, it's an obvious question, but did you have, when you were ski patrolling, did you have anything that was kind of, without like giving away details that you shouldn't, like was there anything horrifying, or was it just like someone breaks an arm, someone breaks a leg, someone...
Yeah, there's two like big events at Sunshine and...
I think I remember maybe one of them,
no, like in terms of...
Was it just kind of like bumming around and people are just walking down the hill and you're like, why are you walking down holding your skis?
Yeah, there's a lot of that, yeah.
What do you do when the people do that? You just like... Because it's kind of unsafe.
Yeah.
I know they're walking slowly, but they're still like not...
Yeah, it's kind of like part of your job. Like there's a lot, like obviously your first, like top priority is like medical stuff, but you were also like, we're the ones that put the rope lines up and flip the AVI signs and like assess the terrain and shovel snow. Like there's kind of loads of stuff to do, which is quite nice. You're like trail crew and ski patrol. At least at Norquay, like you are essentially trail crew, ski patrol, and like avalanche kind of like helpers. Because there's not necessarily a dedicated team there like there is at the bigger resorts.
And I mean, that's also like that. I mean, that just sounds like a really interesting job to me, because those are like three things, especially the avalanche stuff. Like that's something like I feel like would be really interesting to learn.
Yeah.
Also, if it's part of your job and you're getting paid to do it, like that'd be sweet. Because I've been here the whole time. I've worked in a business where we go ski touring and stuff like that, and I'm still not like. I actually have educated myself, but I'm still not like confident enough to be like. I have ski tour and stuff, but I wouldn't be confident to be like, I'm going to go to this location and check all this stuff. Like, 'cause don't have the experience of doing it consistently.
Yeah. It's
like,
like,
they understand it.
I've always gone touring and stuff with people who like know so much.
Yeah, I go with my
so
boss.
It's like, yeah. So that's for me been like super beneficial, because you just like can't, like I like to think I'm like a sponge, like just absorb as much as I can from people who know more than me. So like, touring and stuff with people who know more, like, so I kind of just learn off them and stuff. And obviously being in the ski patrol world as well, you learn.
Yeah, I wish I'd asked more questions. Like I've kind of done it. I've been ski touring a bunch, but I've just kind of been like, you've planned it all. So there we go. I should have, and I can still do it now, obviously, but in hindsight, like every time I've gone, I should have been like, so like we've come here, like how did you like, without boring them to death, be like, how did you like choose this? Like what are the avalanche things? And maybe it was more blissful ignorance. Maybe I kind of at times wanted to just like be like, oh, this is totally cool. There's no hazards here whatsoever. Whereas I educate myself on it would probably be a bit more of a reality check where you're like, right, sweet. No, there's an overhang here. There's something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I was always like not that clued into it.
Yeah.
But like I just, because like I said, I'm always kind of the one that's not necessarily under the wing of someone who knows more, but like I'm with someone who knows more than me, right?
Yeah.
So like, being with people who know more and kind of just absorbing off them.
Yeah.
But then it was nice to see, like the other day I went out with my uncle and I was like, because this is kind of like my backyard in terms of I've been here and kind of know the terrain at least more than this guy on holiday.
Yeah.
It was kind of like not reassuring. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but like almost I was like thinking, oh, I actually kind of do know a bit more than I give myself credit for, which is nice. But that's not just like every time I go in the backcountry, it's like you're always like,
I know.
I was thinking.
And I don't know if like, do you feel like the ski patrol, like the jobs that you've done? Because I mean, like they obviously are really safe, but like you obviously have done like a couple of jobs recently that are like, you know, like Via Ferrata, like obviously it's really safe, but there is a risk to it. You know, with ski patrolling, you're not the one that's necessarily doing the risky stuff, but you're seeing people and stuff like that. Like, do you feel like seeing that kind of stuff has made you more risk averse, or like has it had the opposite where you're like, oh no, I've educated myself on it, so I understand the kind of like issues that can occur?
No, it's definitely made me more risk averse. Like, yeah, like I was having this conversation with a mate of mine the other day. I was like, I feel like most people, I shouldn't say that on a podcast, but I used to go to a ski resort and be like, well, I'm in back, like it's a ski resort. Everything within these walls, like within these rope lines is safe.
That's me right now.
Is it? Yeah. Well, nah, being a ski patrol, you see behind the scenes, you realize that isn't the case at all. So yeah, I guess like,
that is funny because that is honestly what I think right now.
Yeah. Well, like before I did it, like if I saw a rope line and a nice fresh stash of powder, I'd be like, well, stuck this rope line, go ski the fresh powder. But then because I'm like, I know why that closure is there. So I'm like, if someone's ducking that rope line, I'm like, that's stupid. We also like to ski. So if it was safe to ski, we'd have it open, I promise.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I think when it comes to duck and rope, I guess it depends where it was. If it was like, if I knew it was actually the edge of the ski hill and like beyond was the backcountry, I probably would be less, I would be like, I'm not going there. Whereas if it was like rope within the ski, if it was like roped off but within the ski resort bounds, I probably would be like, oh, they probably just probably just like rope this off because they can.
When I first skied at Sunshine, this is such a stupid thing. I wish I had a better way of describing this that didn't just point the finger at me, but I can't remember. Like I got off the lift and there was like two people, I think, stood at like a roll. Like basically I couldn't see over the edge and I thought, if I blow past these two people, I'm going to look sick kind of thing. Like literally was thinking that as like a young kid. And I blew past them, missed the danger cliff sign. Luckily, so I missed this sign that they were stood right next to and skied off like a cliff. It was like 10 feet tall probably, but
that's still pretty high.
Yeah, it was decent and I was not expecting it. And I was like, I guess beforehand, like wouldn't have even paid attention. Well, I didn't pay attention to that sign, but then when I work at somewhere like that, I'm like, okay, you have to like signpost these things, and you hope people listen to them because you're sticking a danger cliff sign above a cliff that will seriously like, if you don't see that sign and roll off it, you are not going to have a good day.
Yeah, maybe the first time I did a cliff, which was probably like 4 feet, so nothing actually, a small hill. Not really
4 feet.
And I didn't know I was doing it though.
Yeah, exactly.
But that actually gave me, that's how I did it, because I didn't know it was there. So I just rode it because I just had because I thought it was just snowboarding. So I just had the confidence, and then I landed it again because I didn't like the whole day that we were doing today when we were doing different things. And I was like, oh, maybe I should do this and do that, and like overthinking things.
Yeah.
Because I didn't overthink it. I just like rode it like I would, and then just landed. Like by the time my brain had like fathomed what happened, I landed, and like, you know, again, I was in a good posture because I was just thought I was snowboarding.
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't that high. So that was like the first, how I'd actually managed to do one for the first time. And I was like, oh sweet, I just did it.
Just do that every time.
Yeah.
I was doing that yesterday at Lake. Cause I feel it's so much fun in my head to like kind of like ski close to your mates and kind of just almost mirror what they do. So I've done this mountain biking and skiing, and it's always like if you're behind someone and you're just kind of doing what they do, following their speed and kind of hitting what they hit, you don't really have a say in what you're riding over and stuff like that, which is kind of fun because then you just have to like ride what they ride. And yeah, I don't know, it's kind of fun at Lake yesterday. He's like doing these little side hits off trees and off like bushes and stuff like that, which like I wouldn't have done, but because you're like right behind him, it's like, oh yeah, fuck it, I'll hit that.
Yeah, that's sweet. That's very cool.
And yeah, you don't like, you just, in my head, I'm like, if I just keep the same distance and I'm just going to do whatever I need to do. And
was there anything he did that you couldn't do? Or?
No, it's always just like fun, mellow stuff, but I don't know, it's kind of fun just not being, I don't know, in control, I guess.
Yeah, you kind of just like,
you're just riding. I don't know, following, it's fun.
And did you do, so the ski patrol, you only did that for a season or did you do that for 2?
Over 3.
Oh, did you do it for 3? Yeah.
Yeah, 2 at Norquay, 1 at Sunshine.
Right, okay, cool. And then like, so in between the summers, in between, would you go back to the Via Ferrata or were you?
Yeah, so I went back the second year. Yeah, I went back for a full second year, and then the third year for our season, I did like half of it, and then I went back for like 2 weeks, one more summer, because we went traveling then in Europe for a bit, and so I missed it all. But
so you were doing like for like a good couple of years there, you were doing a fairly consistent like Via Ferrata, ski patrol, Via Ferrata, ski patrol.
Yeah, that was the system, which was sweet, and then it gives you like a chunk of time off in the shoulder season as well, which is nice.
And then, so then what made you? So that I always envious and love people that do what you have done, where you just like you then make this like fairly like from the outside looking in, like I don't want to say big, but like you decide to go into photography. Like, how does that decision come around? Do you like? You obviously, how does it come around? Was it something you'd always done, and then you kind of get to that point where you're like, I actually want to pursue this, or like.
Go on, sorry, carry on.
No, that was kind of it.
Do you want the long story or the short story?
I was giving a long story, yeah.
Well, it's not that exciting, really. It's kind of, but I remember I quit a job like on a surf holiday with a mate. I was like supposed to go back to work, and I worked at like a recycling center, like we pick the plastic out from the glass, out from the wood on a conveyor belt, like going through people's rubbish. I was working that job.
That's in Wales, I would assume.
Yeah, straight out of high school. That's what I did. And I went on a surf holiday to Devon, and I was down there, and I was like, you know what, like, nah. So I remember texting the boss and was like, I'm not coming back. So I quit that, stayed another week down in Devon surfing, and then I was unemployed after that. And I think like I had filmed that weekend on a GoPro and like made this like crap little film, but I was stoked on it. And then I was like, so after that, I booked a road trip. I remember, literally Googling like photo spots in North Wales.
Yeah.
And so I hopped in my car and spent a week like driving around North Wales. I just had my phone at this point.
Yeah.
Just taking photos, and then I was like hooked, but kind of felt like I was missing something. So like what I was missing was like the feel of a camera and kind of like the things a camera gives you, depth of field, stuff like that. So then I bought a camera, like a cheap £300 camera on Marketplace, which like was just like one continuous zoom, like you couldn't change the lenses or anything like that. Got super like hooked on it. There was taking a bunch of photos with that. And then that's kind of around the time that I was like, absorbing that stuff on YouTube, kind of wanting to take more photos, go somewhere more exciting, aka Canada. And then, when I'd booked my visa, I was like, okay, if I'm going there, I need like a decent camera so that I can actually like take photos that I can use later on down the track, right? So I upgraded my camera system and moved to BC. And then like, it's just like taking photos all the time. But so halfway between that, I kind of knew that like this is what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I get super bored quickly. Like,
I get
so like I'll be in love with something for like a year or even less most of the time and like be fully absorbed in it. And then it just like kind of trickles out, you know, but like every time I was doing something photography related, it was just like building the passion even more. So I kind of knew that that's what I wanted to try and make the dream in like before I moved here. And then really it was just like taking photos of everything, like just building a portfolio. I didn't really know that that's what I was doing at the time. I was just taking photos because I like taking photos. But like I tried not to go into like one niche. I just kind of took photos of everything apart from like people, I guess. And then like I guess started getting better and better at it, I guess. And then last year was like started sending some emails, seeing if I could do it. Like I'd built a website and everything in this meantime so that my work was like visible, but like didn't really have much. I was like presenting myself as this photographer, but all I had was like landscape photos and like some products that someone had sent me for free kind of thing. And then, started sending emails and getting replies. And I was like, oh shit, okay. You can kind of do this and make some money from it. Yeah, that's kind of it.
I mean, so it's kind of, it was always going on in the background then by the sounds of it. As a kind of passion. Yeah. That sounds like a real quick, but like, it was quick to be honest, but like I was like, I was like, all I want to do is this. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, so it's kind of like, it wasn't just like you finish ski patrol and you're like, I'm going to start doing photography. It's kind of like something that's always in the background.
Yeah, like you ask anyone who's known me for the last 6 years or more, like I always have a camera with me. I'm always the guy taking photos. Like, go back up there and do that. Do that one more time.
No, but like, just in the sense of, we kind of chatted about it earlier today, where I'm just like, you know what, actually, I think it stems from, I couldn't afford to buy, this is literally like a decade ago, I couldn't afford to buy new iPhone for like 5 years, so I just had a really old and therefore very limited iPhone with camera space. And again, this is kind of before like hundreds of megabytes was normal. You know what I mean? So I just didn't take my phone. I just never took any pictures. I just stopped taking pictures of my phone because I couldn't save them anywhere.
Yeah.
And then I think it just has now, so like early to mid 20s, I just didn't take any pictures, and then I've just somehow learned to keep doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think that, like, honestly, man, I'm so envious. I said it before, but like people who have like a passion and they're just like, they know that that's what they want to do. Because I guess like, you've made like quite a few you've made like multiple big life decisions, like moving to Canada. Like this, obviously the Lifty to the ski patrol in Via Ferrata was somewhat of a natural thing when you were doing them. But then again, to do that and then jump to photography, even though it's a passion, like it's still like a big decision to make. Like when you're making those decisions, I guess, like the one from like Wales to Canada, and then from like the job you kind of had consistently to like photography, do you have like how do you make those decisions? You kind of like go with your gut, where you're like, I feel like I want to do this thing, therefore I'm going to do it? Or do you kind of like get a bit more into the details of it, where you're like, oh, well, if I leave this job and I did X, you kind of more pragmatic, I can make X amount of money and blah, 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 blah. Like, I guess what I'm saying is like, what drives your decision more? Like your gut and that I want to do this and I'm just going to figure it out, or like, oh, I've like looked into all this detail and research and yeah, it could happen.
That's a really good question. I think probably more gut. Like,
yeah,
like I don't want to sound cliche, but like when I really want to do something, I'd like to give myself credit and say that I will just go and do it and not stop until I've got it.
Yeah.
Like not, like, yeah, I guess that's kind of the base of it, really.
Yeah, I guess, I asked that question because I've done similar. I've also moved from the UK.
Yeah.
I've also like changed careers
for sure.
a couple of times. And I've kind of like, when I was younger, I used to be very much in the latter category of like every decision I made was like, I would think it through to the 100th degree.
Would you? Yeah.
Whereas now I'm less like that.
Right.
Like I'll obviously think through the practicalities of like, if I move here, can I get a job? Can I get somewhere to live? Like X, Y, and Z. But my gut plays a lot more into that just now. Like
just what feels right, kind of.
Yeah. Like discussing, current situations, like coming and going from Banff. Like should I stay? Should I go? And like, look at like live in a beautiful place. Like got a good job, blah blah blah. But like you have a feeling where you're like, yeah, I know I can like rationalize all these positive things about why you should stay, and you're in a good spot, but you have that feeling where you're like, yeah, but I feel like I should do this thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's where as I get older, and again as I get older, I think I get more, maybe like, I think we were kind of jokingly chatting about it today about how, like, you're not going to live forever. And I definitely think, am I going to regret not doing this in, like maybe like 30 years time? Am I going to look back and be like, oh, I should have tried that thing,
Are you materialistic, would you say?
I would honestly say no. Like I definitely like having nice things.
Yeah.
I definitely like having nice things, but nah, not really.
No.
I would assume you're probably not either.
No, I'm the same. Like I think I've probably become more materialistic now because like I can't do my job without my things, kind of thing.
Yeah,
and I like to wear a nice jacket and shit like that. But I think that kind of probably plays a role in the like. You're probably similar. Like you'd rather have these experiences than the things, right? Which I think separates like the people who do travel and stuff like that from the people who don't.
And is there like from traveling around, have you found that your perspective on like people and like situations has changed as you've traveled and lived in different places? So you're like, you grew up in the UK and you live in the UK and you have a perception of like, oh, North Americans are just like, they're just, and I'm making this up, people don't say this, but they're just like, North Americans are just like stupid or a thing. or like any person who's from a different country, and then you've had the experience now of like living in different countries and being like, well, I guess my question is, has your perception changed on like what it used to be from traveling? Like, has traveling changed the way that you kind of think about places and people and stuff like that?
I think so. Yeah. Trying to think of an example.
I know. I was kind of like giving you a pure. Well, I guess like for me, it was almost like you watch American movies, right? I know we're in Canada, but you watch North American movies, and I always used to think they looked really fake because like everyone had an SUV, everyone had a pickup truck, everyone had a basement. I was like, because in the UK, like no one has a basement, really. No. There's like a pickup truck, maybe if you're in a smaller town, but rarely are there pickup trucks. Yeah. Like I'm talking about like the Ford, F-150 kind of style. Ones, yeah. You know, like it's more like, the UK style of car and stuff like that. So I always like thought of the movies as being like, they're like movies, they look like movies. And then I moved here and I was like, oh, like that's actually the reality of living here. And it changed my perspective to be like, oh, like I actually thought like that was all like Hollywood stuff. And I was like, it's actually real. Like, I know that's a really trivial.
Yes, I would say my perspective has changed, but not in like a, wow, like nothing super, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like super, oh fuck, I can't think of the word.
Like life changing.
Yeah.
I think I know what you mean, but I also can't think of the words.
It's just, like, it's not like super, it wouldn't make a good story. Yes, it changed my perspective, but like kind of in that way that you just said, like the time. I remember getting off the train. I'd like flown, got here super late at night into Vancouver. Well, Vancouver, and then trained to Mission, which is the town that I had like an Airbnb in. So basically the first time I had like sniffed the North American air was like in this little town in BC. And I remember getting off the train and it was nighttime and I was like, someone's just dropped me in Grand Theft Auto. Like really? To me, that's what it looked like. I was like, the roads are fucking massive.
Oh,
like,
okay,
it was raining at the time, so it kind of like looked like, high definition, like massive trucks. Someone was like, meet me at the Tim Hortons. Like the person who I was staying with was going to pick me up, and I was like, what the fuck is Tim Hortons? It was just like super Americanized, which I only knew from like video games and movies. So it has changed, but not in like a super, I don't know.
Was there anything like on the opposite that? Was there anything that you didn't expect when you came to Canada that surprised you?
I wasn't expecting, like I didn't think, naively, because like when I came, I did no research, like literally at all. I had my camera and was like, I want to take photos of this place. That's why I came here, and to ski. So I'd like, not really researched a whole lot, didn't know what to expect. So when I got here, it was just like all a surprise. I actually thought that I would be like the only person from the UK in Canada. And the first person I spoke to at the place I was working with was from Bangor, which is North Wales.
Oh, no.
So, and like, then the 5 people following that were also from the UK. It's like, okay. So I wasn't expecting that, but that's just because I was naive and didn't really have a clue.
And is there anything there? Is there anything you put, like, so like switching it like other ways around? Like, is there anything that you wish that was part of the culture in Wales that was part of the culture here?
Like, do I miss things from Wales? Nah, well, like
Welshisms,
just like,
I don't know if that's a word.
Just tiny little things, like
probably like just hearing people that sound like.
No, not even. No, to be honest, I feel like I'm almost deaf to accents sometimes.
Yeah,
like unless there's two in the same, like like an American and like a like you from Scotland or something like that, then obviously I can hear the difference. But like when I'm just like surrounded by the like people with the same accent, like I don't know.
Yeah, it probably sounds like more when you hear a different one.
Yeah,
I think I'm actually probably the same where like I mean we also live in like Banff, which is such a like internationally like cultural like little town. Yeah. So you're so used to hearing different accents.
That's the thing as well.
Sometimes
right?
I'm just like it's almost like jarring when I hear like a bunch of Canadians. I'm like, oh,
really?
Yeah. Well, not jarring. That's a bit of a.
Do you like if you hear like a bunch of people from the UK, will you be like, wow? Like,
no, sorry. I think what I was meaning more. Jarring wasn't the right word. I think more surprising. Like if I hear like if I'm with the only group of Canadians, like it's really rare. Usually it's like me and you and someone from like France or whatever. Yeah. So if I'm like only with Canadians, which happens because like my girlfriend's family's all Canadian. Yeah. Like I go over there. Or like other parts of Canada that aren't really the tourist spots that we've lived in. I'm like, oh, sweet. Like I actually am the only like I was going into I went into Cochrane, which I guess isn't really that far, but I went into like a tire. We were getting the tires done on the vehicle. And I went in and I could tell the guy was like kind of taken aback with like, this is my perception of what happened. But I like started talking and I felt like he was just kind of like, like, where the fuck are you from?
Yeah.
But it's when you live here, it's kind of the opposite. Like,
yeah.
If I hear Canadian, I'm like, oh, you must be like passing through.
It's almost rare, isn't it, to like like, you know, to have a Canadian in Banff. It's like, it's taken over by international workers.
So there's no really, with regards to like the Wales, you're like, there's not anything you're like, oh, I wish that was still a thing. I mean, I'm trying to think of myself like something Scottish that I'm like, I don't know.
Not really. Like during COVID, like I would maybe say yes, because like you were like so separated from it in a way. Like there was like how we were talking before. It's like at that time when you're in it, you like didn't know when you're going to be on a plane again. You didn't know if it was going to be next year or 5 years or fuck knows ever again. You know. So like I don't know. Yeah, Christmas comes around and you kind of miss like Christmas dinner, you know, and like but. Yeah, like fish and chips, like just like the stupid cliche things. I think.
Yeah,
but, like I wouldn't wish them here.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'd be there.
Yeah, I'd be in the pumping tap.
I know, like you're right. It's always like Christmas and stuff like that. I definitely miss my family, and then summer comes, I'm like, fucking get that kid on. But right, and then so with the photography, so you can we were kind of briefly chatting about it today as well, but So you already kind of, at that point, I'm assuming you already kind of like, you've got your website, you've kind of got like, it sounds like you probably already had a bunch of gear. So it wasn't like you kind of made this decision and then you're like, I need to go out and buy all this stuff. It sounds like you kind of just had it. And then,
I kind of just accumulate over time. I remember like, the first winter here, I upgraded my camera again. This is a funny story because the camera that I had before this one that I have, the two cameras that I bought before it, I thought were this camera. Again, like fucking stupid me doing no research or anything like that. I was like, oh, that looks like the one I want. And then finally, when I bought my third camera, I was like, okay, let me figure out what it is I need and want here. Yeah. And then actually like put some thought behind it. And then, so I was like, this was like a camera that is still good today. So I was like, I'm going to buy it, future-proof myself for the next couple of years. I think I had EI money at the time as well. So it was just like, SERP, whatever it was. Buy this camera, kind of be set up for the next 2-3 years minimum. And then if it, like I could take it professionally, I could print them, like all that kind of stuff. Whereas like my other camera couldn't. So I just kind of bought the gear and like you're always like buying extra things, right? Like you're always buying another lens and stuff like that. So by the time it came time to go full time, like I'd got the basis, and then it's still happening now. Like I'm still like, oh, I need this, I need that. And it's just like, building it up.
I mean, you made the decision, like, are you like, want to make photography a thing? And at that time, are you like, okay, I'll do it as like, I'll keep the jobs I'm currently doing and doing this as a side hustle. And then it just immediately picks up so you can drop that other stuff. Or did you go into it being like, I'm dropping this stuff straight off the bat and I'm going?
I was trying to plan
100% into
it. Definitely, there was a plan in place to do like a calculated leap to go full time. And that didn't happen. Like essentially it was going to be like once I'm doing two jobs, like I'm an employee, and once I'm making the same or more as self-employed, then it kind of doesn't make sense to be an employee anymore. But it picked up and like it kind of goes back to the gut feeling, I guess, because the smart thing would have been to keep the 9 to 5, the ski patrol, like everyday paycheck kind of deal. And just wait for the right time with the photography. And from like, I guess like first paycheck to this like decisive moment was like no time at all. So it was like a bit rash, to be honest. But like this opportunity came up and I was like, ski patrol is fucking awesome. But in North America, at least, it's not really a career. Like in Europe, you could make a career out of it for sure, but it's not really the same here. So I was like, this is the career that I want to do. And like I said to you earlier off the podcast, I was like, both were taking so much like mental space. Like I was going home at the end of the day and then like working till midnight on like the photography stuff, like just trying to get, ahead with emails and like editing client stuff. So anyway, long story short, this opportunity came up and I was like, if I miss this opportunity, it's going to set me back quite a bit that I'll kind of like spend a long time building it back up. So Again, kind of like similar to the surf trip, I like asked for a time off and couldn't get it. So I was like, I have to just prioritize like where I actually want to take my career.
Yeah.
So I like said goodbye and took the leap, which was way sooner than I should have. Like after, there was no promise of anything coming after that gig at that time.
Yeah.
So then I took that and I was like, this is kind of like the kick up the arse, kind of like back me against the wall. I'm going to have to just like fight and do what I can to get the next job to make this work. And luckily, I guess timing was right. And then, just like landed a few things after that set me up. And, but it's like, it was super, I was making way less than I was full-time as a ski patroller for like a really long time. And so it was almost like it was a bad decision almost.
Yeah.
But I just like kind of kept at it. And now it's like taken off a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah. There's that like old story of, it's an old story, but this guy, this guy way back in the day is an army and he wants to attack this, like take over this island. And like when they land on the island, like he burns all these boats so that they can't sail back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like a really famous story and I've like drastically oversimplified it there. But he wants to take over this island and he brings his army there and he burns all their boats and the whole army's like, what the fuck? Like, how are we going to get back? And he's like, there is no going back. Like, there's plan A.
That's it. Yeah.
So like, I think the expression is like, you need to burn all your boats because it's like, it's kind of like what you're saying there where you only had that one, you had that first initial thing. And then you kind of like, they couldn't give you the time off and you could be more pragmatic and be like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll pass this and keep that. But like, once you let go of that job, you've kind of burned your boats.
I kind of did because I
this
quit.
Has to work now.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know, and you're just like,
which is, I mean, good sometimes, right? Like you have no other choice but to just make that work.
Yeah.
And if that's what you want, then hopefully you will make it work.
Yeah. And I mean, like, obviously I was kind of out helping you, I hope helping you today.
Oh, yeah.
Just, you know,
yeah.
a total piece of deadwood. But, you know, so like, I guess like a lot of people, so I have an office job. You know, and there's like, you know, this whole also like, so you were chatting a little bit there about like the whole work-life balance and how it kind of was like, you know, you were working and then like just doing your photography thing and it probably wasn't a balance. But, you know, like a lot of people, so my current situation, I work in an office, like my downtime, I'm out doing stuff. Like I'm out in the woods or like, you know, I'm hiking or running or whatever. Whereas like that kind of is your job. So like for like a lot of people to like switch off, that's what you're doing to make the money and to do the thing. Like, how do you what do you do? Like, what's your, like, how do you like balance out like the fact that like you now live this like outdoorsy lifestyle, which most people do to like switch off from their job? Like, have you found that like a weird thing where it's like, or is it more just like you actually really enjoy it, so you don't necessarily have that?
I mean, I really enjoy it. Like whenever I was doing an outdoor activity, I was like also shooting it for fun on my camera. So now I'm just like kind of doing it professionally.
Yeah, there's a bit where you were like setting up today and I was just literally just sitting there. I was like, man, this is fucking sweet.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, I wasn't doing it at the time, but I had the thought, I was like, this is, and I know you said that there's ups and downs and stuff like that, but I was like, this is Aaron's day. This is sweet.
It's only a small portion.
Yeah, no, and so I'm totally, I'm not.
That's
like,
the good side. That's the Instagram side.
But like, I guess like, do you have, like, what do you, like, how do you, and I somewhat repeat myself again, but like you do this thing that most people do to chill out from their job, which is your job. So what do you do to chill out? Do you like sit in an office and just type on a computer?
Well, that's what I do. Like there is a lot of that.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of that. There's one thing that like I'm only kind of just learning now is like you become a professional photographer because you like taking photos. You don't realize that you have to learn how to run a business. That's like the whole like the whole thing that you got to figure out. So it's like, yeah, the fun side of it is taking photos, but
so still kind of the
so
same,
much behind the scenes. And what you said about work-life balance is like the complete opposite. Now I do nothing but like the saying is, right? Like you quit your 9 to 5 to work 24/7. And that is exactly what's happened. Like,
yeah, and I guess that, especially at the stage that I assume you're at, where you are, like, obviously it's been like successful and you're still going, but you still need, like, still want to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
it's not like
maybe obsessed with it, but
100%. I kind of have. I don't know if I actually do have an obsessive personality, but it definitely feels like if I'm not putting in everything, I'm behind. So I just basically had like a week off last week, and I was just like the whole time just like freaking out. It's like I'm now a week back, and like everything to form a relationship with a potential client takes months. So like I'm set back and all this stuff. So,
but is it truly like 24/7, or do you like make a conscious effort to be like, okay, like even if it's for like one day, like I'm just not gonna do it, or you're just like, nah.
No, that's something I need to work on for sure. And like, as before I would have gone, climbing for fun. Now I like don't climb unless I'm doing a shoot, basically. Or if I am climbing for fun, I'm like, fuck, I should have my camera with me because that's like the perfect shot. And I'll come back next week and it's not going to be as good. That's like my thought process, which I think is unhealthy, to be honest.
I think it's probably common though. Like I'm reading this book right now called Switchbacks by a guy, Sid Marty. Do you know who that? Do you know that? So he's an old park warden at Banff, but like as in like the 60s and 70s. I think and it became
that'd be such a good time to be a park warden.
Oh, dude, yeah. So reading these books, like I've got it in the next room. I'll show you. It's like, so he's a park warden in like the 60s and 70s, I think. And he's talking about like prior to be the park warden, he got into it because he was like rock climbing and doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then he kind of says the same thing where like he actually, and I think he got back into it later on, but there was a period of time when he was in the park warden service where you wouldn't do anything unless it was like job related. So you wouldn't climb unless it was a rescue. You wouldn't do this unless it was a thing. And I think it was just, I think because he kind of was like, it was his job. So I think he loved it, but it didn't make him, it kind of took away the recreational side of it, I guess.
Yeah, I think
for a period of time, not the whole time.
Yeah, it definitely like does do that a little bit. Like I haven't gone climbing with like my mates, so I used to go climbing with like for quite a long time. Yeah, unless it's like I'm like, can you help me film something?
Yeah,
me shoot something, which is fine. Like, but at some point I would like to, like, once I'm more comfortable and kind of a bit more established, then I'll kind of go back. But at the moment, it just feels like I need to be putting in everything and kind of getting to that point where I can take a bit of time off. I think I'm like this last 2 weeks, I've had like a different kind of outlook on things, and now I'm like trying to be better at like switching off at like 6 or whatever at night and kind of settling down. And
you could definitely like, my jobs, I can kind of work from home, and at times unfortunately it bleeds into working from home. So like the jobs I had previously in Scotland, like I was an engineer, so I had to physically be in the factory to make the thing.
What like engineering, I feel like it, for me at least, it's like a broad, you could be
super broad. Yeah, it's really broad. So I was manufacturing engineering, and I worked for an aerospace company. So
damn.
Yeah, it sounds super fancy, but honestly, like don't think it was like when I was younger and if I was in a club like talking to a girl, I'd be like, I'm
an aerospace engineer.
If I was talking to other mates or boys, I'd just be like, I'm an apprentice, like CNC machinist is really what I was.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, we were just making making components from like anything from like fairly complex things like crankshafts, which I never got to that level because I was like the guys who'd been there longer, to like other, honestly, mate, like the most basic, like a washer. Made like thousands of washers, like because planes need them. But anyway, that job when I left, obviously couldn't do it when I left because I had to physically be there and at the machine to do it. And then even the construction one was kind of similar because it was before COVID, and I actually left like just like right at the beginning of COVID, so it was prior to the whole like working from home thing. Like I went to the office, I worked there, I left, and I didn't work.
Right.
Like I didn't work outside there.
Yeah.
This role though, like I definitely do a lot more like working from home.
Yeah, it sounds like you work flat out.
Yeah, the whole like that whole ramble was to get to the point where it's like I'll find myself sometimes at night where it's like 8 o'clock and I'm like, I should probably just check that email just to see. And I never ever thought I would be that kind of person, but it just it has unconsciously bled into. Probably just because, I mean, I've got more responsibility though, as well as the years have gone on. Those jobs I had previously, I probably could just clock in and clock out, but it's now, it's a more responsible role. So I probably am like, oh, fuck, is that thing right for tomorrow? Because I'm the one that's like arranged it or planned it.
It sounds like you're like, it sounds like you almost are self-employed, like within your role. Yeah, like it sounds like you're doing a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you like, I guess you must like it a fair bit to want to be thinking about it in the evenings. Like I've had jobs where as soon as I'm done, I'm not thinking about it until Monday. But
I would say like, so yeah, I do like my job, but it's less like the fact that and it's not like I'm like, I enjoy this so much I'm going to work in it from home. It's more that I'm like, I'm the person who is responsible for this thing happening.
Right.
Have I is it set up? Is it right?
Yeah.
And I definitely have made mistakes and stuff have gone wrong, but so usually I do try and set it up so that I've done a bunch of stuff so I can leave and be I know for a fact tomorrow's going off without a hitch. Yeah. But you just have those niggling things where you're but I probably should just check it. And then again, the whole point of getting onto that was then you just go down a rabbit hole and you just start answering stuff. And then it's
hours have gone by.
With you, probably editing, even with this podcast, I'll be right, I'll just do 1 hour, just editing the thing. And then it'll be whatever time later. And
I'm kind of getting to a point where I'm I'm kind of okay with that because I can't go and edit for an hour, then do something and then come back to it. But by the time I've worked on it for an hour, then I'm in the flow.
Yeah.
And then I need to be 6 hours without interruptions and then I can sign off. Yeah. It's kind of weird that.
Well, you also probably want to do the thing where if you are editing something, you edit it to the point where you're sweet, that's done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. It's hard.
You're going to edit halfway and be I'll just come back tomorrow and trying to come back because you were saying you get an hour into it and you get to the groove. And then to then leave it and then come back and then try and just I've also found myself going insane trying to edit stuff though as well. Go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And you've made so many changes that you get to the point where you're I don't even remember
why I'm even doing this. Yeah.
I've done it a couple of times, and granted, mine's a lot easier. Easier as in the sense of it's not as important as your job. Where I've literally just been I'm actually just going to scrap this and go and leave it for now and then come back tomorrow and just start again.
Yeah, I've done that.
And then I'm right, okay, cool, yeah, right, sweet.
Yeah. Sometimes you need that.
Yeah.
I'm getting better now as well as if I'm editing and it's just not coming together, just don't force it. It's impossible you're just banging your head against the door. Just fuck it off.
Try to do
Come
it
back
again
to it tomorrow when you're feeling in the mood, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think
works to an extent, but sorry, mate.
Yeah, no, I was going to say obviously you kind of have the fortunate position of being in having a job where you can do the next big move that you're doing, which is going to Australia. Obviously, I know you were saying that there's some partnerships that may not be able to pan out because geographically wise, but it's quite cool that you have that role. Allows you to do that. Yeah,
19, 20-year-old me would have the whole idea was to have a job that didn't tie me to a location. Little did I know in the background of all this, it has been tying me to a location because I am I'm in the North American market, right? I'm doing stuff for brands that kind of are here, or at least in places similar to this. So it kind of has tied me a little bit to it, but the whole intention of starting this whole thing was so that I could be locationally free.
Yeah.
So I'm as I'm stressing about this move and stuff like that, I'm reminding myself that I started it all so that I could be anywhere at any time. So we'll try it out. If it doesn't work, we'll come back.
Yeah, true. And I think, do you have any, so with regards to projects that you're doing, are you, I know obviously you're the one that we're doing tomorrow and kind of doing today, but are there any projects that you personally, I want to do this kind of, this thing? Or is it more just I kind of want to generally get into this, style of photography? As in, do you want to just you're I want to do a specific project, go to this place, do this thing, or are you more just I'm kind of at that stage where I just want to get into?
No, there's not a specific place or project that's really got me.
I guess maybe what I'm getting at there, is there any part of going to Australia that you're oh sweet, I'm going to go to Australia, then I can do this stuff that I wouldn't necessarily do here? Or
I'm keen to fuck around with underwater photography. That's not where maybe I'll find a new passion in it.
Yeah.
It's not where I want to take things. I don't want to be the next underwater photographer.
Yeah.
But it'll be a fun new challenge and kind of gives another string to my bow and stuff like that. So I'm keen for that. But otherwise, I guess it's more of a personal experiment / journey rather than a professional one. Obviously, I'm going to see if it works. Maybe I'll be more successful there. Maybe I'll be way less successful, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. And that's the end of this month?
Yeah.
All right. That's soon.
Yeah.
You're excited?
It's apprehensive, but excited, yeah.
And you were saying you've shipped all your stuff out there as well?
We will do. Thursday.
Yeah. Or you're shipping it out this Thursday and then you're... So you're just not going to have a bunch of stuff for like...
Yeah, like everything we own, apart from what we can fit in 2 suitcases between us.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
So it's not bad, but yeah, I just got to like, kind of make sure.
Have you been to Australia before?
Yeah,
okay,
twice.
Yeah, you met Amelia's family.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so
just briefly though. Like, well, yeah, I guess the last time we were there, we did like a decent road trip up to Sydney from Melbourne in a camper, which was pretty sweet.
Because I guess the like, I mean, the benefit like going there is like obviously like all the like the beaches and stuff like it is totally different to like the kind of stuff you're doing here. Yeah, like, that'd be really cool, even if it is only for like a year or two to like really switch up.
Yeah, and I think we're both like stoked. Like if it's a year, but it leads us to a decision, then it was worth it.
And also a year's so short. Like I know there's a lot of financial, like, there's a lot of finance and moving from here to there. As there is moving from if I was to go back to, even if I was to move to the east coast of Canada.
When we were planning to, like when I said before, like it was here, it was Canmore, like Kamloops or Kelowna, something like that, or Calgary. I was like, literally the deciding point was if we go to Kelowna, that's going to cost just as much as moving to Australia, like realistically.
That's wild.
Like, it's costing us a couple thousand to send our stuff over. It would cost that to move our shit over there.
I know. So it's like, but what I was getting at was like, the time, like a year, your time, like, you get older and time just flies.
Yeah.
Years really.
It does this, doesn't it? So like a year when you were like, before you were 18 was like, and it felt like a year.
Felt forever, yeah.
Now it feels like a month, and it feels like a month, and then 3 weeks, 2 weeks.
Well, someone
wild.
I remember someone, Reddit or someone told me this, where like the reason that your summers feel so long when you were a kid was because it was actually a long portion of your life at that point in time. Like
true, yeah.
Yeah, so like when you were like an 8-year-old, like one summer was actually like quite and the 8 years of your life was like a decent amount of time.
Yeah,
like, the older you get, you've got more years and they just are. But like, do you also think at times, and I do remind myself of this sometimes, where like if you were to say to yourself, like say to like the you that was in like Chamonix, or just like a teenage version of you before you come into Canada, if you said to you then that you are in the position you are now, like what do you think he would say? So he would just be like, living the dream.
I'd be like, I fucking hope so. I hope you're right.
No, but I mean, like with the life that you have now, would you not think that your younger self would be like so like, oh, I wish I was doing what that guy's doing, but you're doing it. Is my point.
Yeah, I think which is like I need to get myself in that headspace sometimes because like you just like I mean we did a lot of fucking talking before we did this podcast, so it's a lot of referring to that, but like it just unfortunately becomes normal, right? But like I am fucking so grateful to be here and where I am. Have you seen that thing that's like where you are now is who your younger self would feel safe with or something like that?
Oh, maybe not, but kind of a similar
something
idea,
like that. I often think about that.
I do as well, man. I'm like, I was desperate to move to Canada. I was honestly desperate. And now I'm just like, I'm
desperate to go back to Scotland for a bit.
I'm not necessarily desperate, but like when I'm flirting with the idea of it and I look back at like, I'm like, I try and remember me. Like if I said to me then that was working in, a project management, like construction role in like Livingston, like staying with his mum and dad, to be like, you'll be in the position you are now. I mean, he would be like, that version of me would be like, that is literally exactly what I want to do. And then you get to it. And then obviously like you evolve in life and you want to like, you do a bunch of stuff and you're like, sweet, that's cool. But now I want to do this other stuff. But it's like just taking a moment sometimes to be like, I'm actually somewhere that past me would have been like desperate to be at.
Do you ever think about like reading your life like a book?
I've heard that, or like a movie. I think I've heard the movie.
The first time I went to Scotland, I remember thinking this. I'd be like, it'd be a fucking sick story to do all this, and then I almost like treated it like that for a bit, and like that's kind of a fun way to look at it, and just like do interesting shit.
I've heard like
that interests you,
like, I've heard a couple of things that talk about like you should live your life like it's a movie, and you're like the main character. Like, what would they do? I mean, it's so easy to hear stuff like that. And
that's so TikTok.
No, I know. And then to actually do it, like, I'm not like sitting in my office, like working away, being like, what would the main character in this movie?
The main character would kick this fucking door down.
Just fucking smashing, cut the job. But, and I mean, are you like the kind of person that like, have you got like in 5 years, I want to be doing this? Or like, okay, to evolve this question, the one about being a kid and looking at you now, like you now What would like the 5-year version of you look like when you're like, that guy's fucking living the dream?
In 5 years, like how would that look?
Yeah.
I think like just
probably similar to what you're doing, but
doing the same thing, but kind of just at another level. Yeah. Like, yeah, I got some personal, professional goals, obviously, that I want to do and stuff like that.
And with the photography, is there a certain like way you want to, like, is there a certain like direction you want to go, or is it just kind of more like the outdoor photography in general?
Yeah, like outdoor space is definitely the dream. That's another.
But it's not like specifically like cycling or this or that.
Nah, I want to be like the outdoor photographer, like whether it's skiing, snowboarding, hiking. Yeah, exactly. It's like a Red Bull filmmaker is essentially like, you know, someone gets a phone call and goes, we're filming like a free ride thing this weekend, and then a week goes by. Now we're filming a base jumping thing. Like, I imagine that's how it goes, and like that's kind of the dream. Like, outdoor space, stay in that, and I guess I want to like cinematography is kind of like a big thing that I want to get into.
Yeah, would you want to get into more like short like film movies?
Yeah, but like still super low, not production level, but like I want it to, I don't think I want to be like a camera operator or a DP or anything on a movie set. Like I actually said to a mate, like I think as soon as it evolves too far beyond like a couple of guys running around with cameras and microphones and stuff like that, just like having fun, like I imagine I will lose a bit of interest in it. Like that's probably going to progress to out of that, but for right now it's really fun just like running and gunning with a camera and like I mean taking it seriously of course, but like it's a super small production. Like I'm sure if you know a couple of guys rock up on set and they've got 2 camera bodies, a couple of lenses, some lights and a reflector to their name, like most people might be like, what the fuck are these guys? But I kind of want to be that person who does a good job with like not too much equipment. You know? I don't know. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah,
and it was like even just like kicking about you today, and I know you said like that was like the fun parts. I'm not then going home tonight and editing all the content you took and trying to find the right one and blah blah blah, and then coming up with creative ideas. Because I think that's the thing as well. Like it's like a very creative thing that you're doing. Like I was saying to you today, I was like, so what are you going to do? Or I think I can't remember, but effectively it was like, how do you come up with the idea to do something? You were kind of like, well, you kind of just like an idea comes in your head and then it just kind of like evolves into something else. But like being creative enough to have that idea to off the bat, like
I always like really like being creative, but I can't paint, can't draw, I can play music, but I can't create music. Like I have to like copy someone else's, you know. So I guess this is like the creative outlet that I found that I can actually kind of do. So that's good. That's good fun at least. But yeah, I quite enjoy, like there's so much pre-production before things. It's like conceptualizing and like trying to build this, like whatever it is that you're making, like a whole vision essentially. That's so much fun to me. And almost the weirder, more abstract it is, like sock stuff, it's hard to make a pair of socks all that interesting, but that's the fun for me, is like kind of making it decent.
And I mean that is a very cool, that is really cool, mate. Like there's a lot of people who definitely think like I was the same as you, didn't really have any creative outlet until now, and to me this is my kind of creative thing, just chatting to people because I'm the same as you, like can't paint, can't do all that stuff, but like I always felt like, and it wasn't like every day, but I did at some point, I was like, I feel like I'm just missing like making something. And as you say, like I was like, I can't draw, not that I wanted to, but I was like, I can't draw, I can't make music, but I was like, I feel like I wanted to have an outlet, and I couldn't until I obviously found what it was.
How did you like decide that you wanted to do a podcast, or what was it that was like, I'm just going to do it? Because I imagine you'd been thinking about it for a while, but probably...
So I think I said, so I thought about it for like ages. I thought honestly about it from like so what happened was when I was like 23, I think, that's when I went traveling for 6 months, moved to Australia. And that's when, so I don't have any social media now, but at this point in time I did. So I was like Snapchat and everything. And I remember thinking like, oh, maybe I'll like fucking like, as I travel, I'll like Snapchat and Instagram and all this stuff and like make something like that. But anyway, the irony was doing that, like I hated it because it was such a fake perception of like what the reality of my life was like. I was like, I was actually kind of like sad, like pretty lonely at times traveling on my own. Wasn't actually really in the nicest of places, but like
traveling on your own?
Traveling on my own, yeah. So like, you know, but I was giving out this perception of like how awesome my life was. So, and I just hated that. I hated the fact I was doing that. So then I bent off all my social media. But I always liked the idea of not like, it was more just, the podcast was always an idea as honestly like a really good excuse just to genuinely talk to people that I think are cool and interesting. And that is honestly the fundamental reason why I'm doing it now. Because I just would always chat to people like you and like various other people were like, just in like a normal day-to-day conversation, I'd be chatting to them. I'd be like, man, you're fucking like really cool and interesting to talk to. But I didn't have any way to then be like, hey, Aaron, would you like sit down with me for 2 hours and just chat about your life? Like, yeah, I don't feel like it's a very not common thing. Like people just wouldn't do that. I wouldn't, even some of my best mates, I wouldn't be like, hey, Ross, do you want to just sit down for 2 hours and we'll just chat about life and shit? I'd be like, no, you know? So like, it was kind of a combination of, I always wanted to do it because I love chatting to people. And I was like, I'm actually like, I would hope that I'm like, obviously still need to learn and get better, but like I'm half decent at like talking to people. And I genuinely find like people really interesting.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like those two things. And then I kind of got to that point where mine is obviously like a hobby for now. But I kind of got to that point where I just, for a couple, like 2 or 3 years, like intensely was like, I just want to do this creative thing. And I was just like, nah, but like, I don't have a camera, I don't have this and I don't have that. And then I was like, just start it in any capacity you can. Just like do the first thing that you can. And again, it was like, I came up with a name. And then it was like, just like,
man, that's the hardest part is just starting. And I feel like you're on the up now. So
because also it's like, you know, I definitely, even though like I weirdly, in some aspects of my life, I honestly don't really, this is really blunt and I don't mean it to sound like this, but like, I don't really care what people I don't know think about me. Yeah. I would care about like your opinion and my friends' opinions. But also on the other side, like you doing your photography and me doing this, like they are like, you're like kind of putting like your, something that you think is cool out there and being like, judge me.
Yeah.
You know, which is quite, I think it took me a while to just be like, or maybe it was a little bit narcissistic in my head where I was thinking that people were caring too much about what I was doing. And I was like, no one really cares. You know, we're all like, just like struggling through our own lives trying to do shit.
Yeah.
That like, just do it. People will like probably look at it once, you know, like if they like it, they might keep looking at it. And if they don't, they'll probably make a snide comment to someone and then forget about it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So eventually, and I think also though, for me, it was like, I also got to an age where that actually didn't bother me. Because when I was younger and, you know, more like, I mean, I guess, more insecure, like you do worry more about what other people think about you. And then you kind of get to, it doesn't need to be a certain age, but I just got to a point in my life where I was just cool with that.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? They're going to judge me anyway. So like, let's just try this. And like, you know what you were saying, if like in 30 years time, it went nowhere, and I can at least be like, I tried it.
That's another thing as well. It's like there is something to be said in, like, if you go into something wanting to make money, for example, chances of success, I would say, I mean, it's actually proven, I shouldn't say that, like people have said this, like it's low.
Yeah.
Whereas if you start something and like you do it because you love it, there's a fucking good likelihood that you might actually be able to make something out of it.
Yeah. And I think as well, like I obviously was looking at like people who'd done it, and like I was noticing, not about everyone, but a lot of people were like, they just started and they were already like putting like their website would have a shitload of ads on it, like those random ads as well that aren't like you like doing like a brand specific thing with a partner. It's more like they just have those like generic shitty ads down the side there, like for adverts for like random stuff.
Right.
Or they'd be doing a podcast, like their second hour podcast, and they've already got like adverts on it. They're like cut it up, and it's just like, and so like my philosophy just now is like doing it to like get to a point where like, is the thing that I'm doing, like the content, I guess, that I'm making, like, is it even good? Because if it's good, then, you know, like if I was, you know, like in a perfect world, like, I would love this to go somewhere and this could be my actual job, but that's like total, like, you know, like head in the clouds kind of mentality. But for right now, that's not my concern. Like right now, my concern is like, I'm enjoying it, which I do love doing it, but also it's like, is it good? Because if it's not good, then it's, you know, like, there's no point trying to monetize it, because then it's just not going to be.
Yeah.
So sorry, I guess my focus just now is actually making something that is good, and if it is good, the money will come from it later on.
Yeah.
And if it's not, then obviously it wasn't that good, and then I can spin it off and be like, well, I tried it. You know, and
ex-podcaster.
Yeah, but like,
you won't be that.
Yeah, but even just like, but I think even if that did happen, which it could, like, that is a definite possibility. Like, I at least could be like, I tried it though.
Yeah.
And be content in the fact
100%.
that I'm like, cool, sweet. I tried it, it didn't pan out, but like, I can now move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Sometimes you need that as well. Like, you have to try a whole bunch of, like, I'm sure you went through a whole bunch, like, trying the fucking paint and the drawing and the music before you found that this is the thing to do.
Yeah. Like, I've, through the various job moves and like country moves I've done, like, even though each thing wasn't the thing I wanted to do,
it kind of led you, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. And kind of like, maybe similar to you, like, obviously you enjoyed the Via Ferrata and the ski patrolling, but like, you kind of like led you down this path, and it got to that point where you're like, oh, sweet. Like, now I know what it is I want to do.
Yeah.
Dip off, but
it takes a whole fucking lot of that. Were you someone in school who had no idea what you wanted to do?
No, at all, mate. Even now, like, like, even now, like, so this is what I'm saying. Like, this is me, like, aiming for the stars, like, like, ultimate wish. Like, it'd be amazing if I could, like, make a career out of just chatting to people that I genuinely thought were cool and got paid for it.
Yeah.
But, like, that's not, like, that's like me kind of like, I don't know, wishing for the stars. Like, the reality of me right now is not thinking that that's going to be the case. It's more just like, I don't know. I can know a bit off tangent there, but yeah, like, no, I didn't grow up being like, this is the thing that I want to do. I didn't have, like, even photography, like, I didn't have that thing that I was like, I love this and I'm obsessed with this. And it was always going on in the background. And then it got to the point that you get to where you're like, okay, I'm going to jump off with it now. I've just kind of like, I don't know.
I was also that, like, no idea. It feels weird now that I kind of It feels weird that I have found that thing that I want to do, because, like, I had no idea for, like, forever.
Yeah, so I'm kind of making that as if you knew what you were wanting to do way young. Like, I mean, the only thing that I really had was, like, as much as I was kind of being a bit negative about how I approached sports when I was younger, that is something I've always loved to do. Like, I actually have always loved to, I love, like, endurance, like, I've always loved sports, and it's kind of evolved into, like, endurance stuff now, which it definitely is, like, a passion. Like, but again, it's like, how do I, you know, your point, which I agree with you, is like, you know, you should have a purpose, then the money will come from that. But then it's like, how do I, like, so my passion would be as sports, like endurance sports, like, how do I like create that into a career?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to, as much as I'm doing this podcast and put it out there, like, I don't want to be like one of these influencer people that's just like selling their soul for, like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Last time I, like, properly saw you, aside from the coffee shop the other week, you were training for that 100k.
100 miles,
100 miles?
100 miles, Yeah, man, that was a while ago. But
how long did that take you?
31 and a half hours.
And where was it?
It was in Lethbridge, so it wasn't that far from here. So, like, 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Have you been in Lethbridge?
Nah.
It's not really much to do.
I think so.
It's kind of like, it's cool. Like, I mean, I went there to do that specific thing, so I can give, like, an honest assessment of the place, but yeah, it was cool. Like, doing stuff like that.
That's proper endurance.
Yeah. And I think, like, doing that, though, was, like, the first time that, not the first time, it was the second time that I'd done something like that, where I was like, everyone should do this.
Yeah?
Yeah, just because it was such a, like, it's such a positive feeling. You like put all your effort into doing, like, training for this thing, that you do it, and you're like, I remember being like, everyone should have this feeling.
Yeah. And
I remember at that point I was like, right, okay, how do I, like, get into a position where, like, I can help people to do that? So, which is like, you know, that's where I'm like, could I somehow get involved with a sports endurance company, and then I'm kind of helping people, like, go down that path? But I still even feel now it's, like, quite a niche thing, like, work-wise, not just as, like, someone who's an influencer who's made it, which I don't want to do, but, like, as a career, like, work for a company that, like, helps people, like, have that experience of, like, you know, doing these, like, big challenges.
Yeah.
But it's so niche, mate. I'm like, I don't even know how.
Stop podcasting.
Yeah, no, just like,
dude, like, seriously,
just do it. I know.
You could.
What I did, I was like, and that's why I'm grateful to people like you and my other friends who have agreed to do this with me, because, you know, like, there are people out there that I would love to reach out to and ask, but I probably am not yet at a level, and maybe similar to you with your photography work, where you're like, I'd love to like work with this brand, but realistically, like I need to build a portfolio and then get to that point. And it's kind of the same for me. If I want to actually chat to those people, like I this is why I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. Like I sincerely appreciate you doing this with me, because it's like, like it helps me to build, like, one, obviously I want to do it with you, but it's also like helping to give me like what's the word, like an authenticity.
Yeah.
People look at it like, sweet, he actually does talk to people who are, he's not just like someone who, I remember actually, like I'd done like 2 podcasts and I did reach out to someone who was like a kind of big time runner in this area, and they messaged me back instantly, be like, yeah mate, defos, because I kind of went in with the professional, like, hey, my name's Richard, I'm doing a podcast, blah blah blah, and then they were like, yeah, definitely, like I'll check it out. And then mate, I messaged them after it and they just like totally piped it. Which after doing 2 of them, like I get it, like they're like someone who I think has actually done like I think they've even done like radios and stuff like that.
Right.
And I'm just like, hey, like I vaguely live near you. Like, would you come and chat to me? And they're probably like, nah.
Shoot your shot, mate. You got it.
Well, look, I appreciate you sitting down with me for so long and kind of like, mate, let me bug your brain. And yeah, it was fun like kicking it with me today.
Yeah, you enjoyed it.
Good.
We made you